Again.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the fabulous YouTube channel of the Virtual Academy. We are so glad you guys are here, and we're going to keep going with part two. PT is short for part two of making our character profile. You need to have gone through part one. So, character profile part one for the advanced group for ELD. And once you're done, you could go on and start this. Okay, so last time we were together, we talked about what a character profile was, and it was about physical, psychological, and emotional description of a character. We're making a pretend character for a children's book, and we had to decide different things. So my character was going to be a food, that it was going to be a food, it was going to be a pizza. My character was going to have black hair and a mohawk and big pupils and big eyelashes. My character was going to be a traditional shape. It's going to be a circle. My character was going to be an adult. My character was going to be a male of average height and use a cane. And my character's name was Pepperoni Pete. So this was my awesome drawing of my character, Pepperoni Pete. So this time for part two, we're going to talk about other type of internal characteristics. Internal. Can you go ahead and write that word? Internal. Internal. Go ahead and write that word. Every time I put down my pen, it means to pause the video and do what I say, copy whatever I say to copy, or talk out loud, talk with your group, read, whatever it might be. So write that word internal. Internal means on the inside. The last time we were together for part one, we talked about external characteristics, things like eyes and hair and build, all of those things you can see. But now we're going to talk about the inside of someone, things that you wouldn't know just by glancing at them, things that you would have to discover or write about in order for the reader to truly understand, something that a picture really can't grab the essence of. We want to know more about the character. So this is for me. My character was Pepperoni Pete. So that you do not have to write Pepperoni Pete. You can write the name of your character from part one if you would like. Go ahead and do that. Okay, perfect. So one thing I want to do for your character is I want to create some likes and dislikes. And we're going to keep this very generic. We're not going to go very deep into this. We're going to go basic. I'm going to talk about basic things. I'm not going to go with very complex things like nightmares or peace or so, I just very basic things like foods and shows and stuff like that. So for my character, so my character is Pepperoni Pete. I do want you to make this little T chart that says likes and dislikes. Go ahead. Excellent. Now I'm going to fill this out for my character. Okay. So my character is not your character. So you have to create your own type of likes and dislikes. So my character is a big pepperoni pizza named Pete. So of course, because he is a pepperoni pizza guy, he has to like ranch. Because who doesn't like ranch on their pepperoni pizza? Oh my goodness. Of course, my this is my list, okay? My pepperoni Pete, my guy pepperoni Pete, in case you forgot what he looks like, in case you forgot what he looks like, this is my guy pepperoni Pete. My pepperoni Pete loves comedy movies. I'm going to put comedies. He's not that into scary movies. He likes comedies. He's not that into romance. He's not that into action packed. He likes to laugh. My Pepperoni Pete character, my fake character for my fake children's book, he really likes to write poetry. In fact, his cane that he has is actually, there's a little storage here for a bunch of pens and paper. because he likes to bust out the pens and paper and write poetry as he walks around his town. And he really likes quiet spaces like the library, a quiet house. He likes quiet spaces. So I'm using my imagination and I'm making up what things that Pepperoni Pete likes. I want you to think of your character and I want you to write at least 4 bullet points as to what your character likes. Go ahead and do that now. Excellent. And why don't you go ahead and raise a Zoom hand, or if you're in a traditional classroom, go ahead and raise your hand and share what your character likes. Perfect, perfect. Now we have to do some dislikes. Okay, my Pepperoni Pete, he hates traveling on airplanes. He does not like airplanes. He'd rather drive. It's kind of like me. I don't really like airplanes. I'd rather drive. All right. He really does not like arguing. He does not like arguing or arguments or witnessing arguments. Remember, he likes quiet. So he does not like a lot of noise. He definitely doesn't like friction. He just likes quiet. So he doesn't like arguments. He does not like chicken wings because he's a pepperoni pizza. He's the star of the show. But when chicken wings get on the menu, he's a little bit jealous. He sometimes him and chicken wings tend to compete for the attention of others. He's a little bit jealous. Okay. And he does not like diet soda of any kind. He's not like me who loves Diet Dr. Pepper. He does not like diet soda of any kind. So my guy, Pepperoni Pete, he likes ranch, but he doesn't like airplanes. He likes comedies, but he doesn't like arguing, either being in an argument or watching them. He likes to write poetry, but he doesn't like chicken wings. He likes quiet spaces, but he doesn't like diet soda. Go ahead and write your dislikes. Excellent, excellent. And why don't you go ahead and share the dislikes of your character with others in your Zoom group or in your classroom? Excellent, excellent. We're going to do another T chart. We're going to do another T chart. And this goes a little bit deeper than likes and dislikes. It goes a little bit deeper. And I'm going to call this strengths, strengths. And I'm going to put, oh, this is going to be small, weaknesses. Oh, I made it fit. If you want to have some more room or use another paper or use this bottom, you don't have to write things the way I write things. I want you to write strengths and weaknesses. Go ahead, write that for me. Okay. So this is not, when I write strengths, it's not like, oh, you're so strong, like physically strong. This is parts of your personality, or in this case, Pepperoni Pete's personality, that are good, that have good characteristics. These are good traits. These are his weaknesses, are things that he needs to work on. Okay, and it could be personality, it could be academic, it could be in terms of behaviors, it could be anything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write a couple of strengths. I'm going to say my Pepperoni Pete is very thoughtful. He's very thoughtful of others. He's very thoughtful. And I think it's also a good this is also my character is very observant. He likes to watch. Since he likes quiet, he doesn't say a lot, but he observes things and he notices when other people are happy or sad or in need. He could tell, right? And it's a strength of his, right? And he gets along with others. He's kind of an easygoing guy. Gets along with others. You are watching me. You are not writing this. You are not writing this. These are my strengths for my character, Pepperoni Pete. Weaknesses, areas that he needs to work on. These are areas that may cause some conflict. These are areas that where his character could use some improvement, okay? And every good character is going to have some strengths and some weaknesses. Okay, sometimes we'll have some characters that are always a superhero, but especially as you get older, the more the movies, the shows, the books you read, the more complex the character, the more you can see their strengths and their weaknesses at the same time. We all have both. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. So his weakness is Pepperoni Pete. He craves attention. He craves attention. He likes to be, he likes people to watch him. And sometimes that's not a good thing. And sometimes because he gets along with others, he doesn't always stand up for himself, and he gets taken advantage of, doesn't stand up for self. And then sometimes he gets upset or he starts feeling bad because he's taken advantage of. But the reason he's taken advantage of sometimes is that he doesn't stand up for himself. Okay, so here are my strengths and here are my weaknesses for the character Pepperoni Pete. Why don't you go ahead and make up your own for your character? Excellent. And would you like, if you can, please raise your hand and share what the strengths and weaknesses of your character are? Excellent, excellent. All right. So here we're going to go even deeper. So likes and dislikes, I like ranch, I don't like diet soda. That's kind of like on the surface, right? We're going a little deeper where it says strengths and weaknesses. We're going to talk a little bit about a fancy word called disposition. Can you repeat after me? Disposition. Disposition. So that maybe another good word for that might be someone's energy, someone's countenance, how someone, it's just kind of like the baseline of their personality. So if you say, oh, that person is joyful or that person is pensive, it's how they are the majority of the time. It's how they carry themselves the majority of the time, right? We've all had moments of being angry. We've all had moments of being joyful. We've all had times of being busy. But this usually, when you say it's someone's disposition or it's someone's energy, they give off this 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 type of being consistently. So let me give you some examples. This you do not have to copy. I'm not Pizza Pete, Pepperoni Pizza Pete, Mr. Pepperoni Pete is not going to have all of these dispositions. I'm going to write down a bunch and then I'm going to pick one or two and then you're going to do the same thing. You do not have to write down everything I write. You're going to pick one or two, or even better yet, make up your own, and then that's going to be like the disposition, the natural disposition of your character. So how about if I put here joyful, energetic? I'm not really energetic. I don't have that energetic, but I'm jealous of people who do. I think it's awesome. Maybe a nervous, there's maybe always, oftentimes nervous, maybe sorrowful. If you notice too, joyful and sorrowful have the suffix full. So they're full of joy, full of sorrow, right? Um, Same with this word, doubtful. Maybe your character questions everything. Oh, did that really happen? I don't believe that. Is that true? I don't know, right? Doubtful, maybe creative. There's some people who are always creating things. That's just who they are, and that's great for them. Pensive. I like this word because there's some people I've met who have a pensive disposition. They always are thinking. They reading something and thinking about it, watching something and thinking about it, remembering stuff. That's pensive. Maybe studious. They always have a book in their hand or they're always researching. They're naturally curious about the world around them. This is me right here. I kind of have a sleepy disposition. I just like to be a little bit sleepy. It's just who I am. Maybe there's like a stress. Some people always find a reason to be stressed. That's just kind of their state of being, right? Um, Maybe kind of laid back, relaxed. That would be the opposite of stressed. So, um, you might have someone who's maybe if these two people were siblings, one of the siblings, the sisters or brothers, are stressed. We have to clean up everything, and then the more laid back sibling will be like, "Relax, that's okay. Well, it'll look good. They just won't be as stressed. Maybe someone has a busy disposition. So go ahead, you're going to pick one or two of those, or even better yet, make up your own, and you're going to write it under disposition and decide which one is true for your character. Super, super. Okay, so I'm gonna pick for my pepperoni Pete. I think I'm gonna make him a little bit laid back and relaxed because he's observant. Okay, I'm gonna make him kind of pensive. So he's relaxed, but he's kind of always thinking. So these are some of the internal things, internal feelings, internal workings of your character. Okay, so that's really good. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to want you to do really doesn't have a lot to do with the internal or external, but did you know that the people you are around and the setting you are around often determine your behavior and how you develop as a person. So, setting is always very, very important. So, even though this is a character profile, your setting really does determine a lot about the character, right? So, um, if the character is in a zoo with friends, then they might be more social. Let's say your character is an elephant in a zoo. Sorry, I drank some water. And so they're more social because they've been around other animals. But let's say your character is a lost elephant in the wild. Well, then they're probably more pensive because they're not around as many other animals, right? Especially if they're not with the herd, right? So setting does impact the character. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put setting, and I'm going to want you to write setting because it's a lot more than just the place. The main thing about a setting is there's actually two main things about a setting. A setting is a place and a time period. I am going to have you copy that. This means and. You could write the word and if you want. Go ahead and copy this definition of setting. Okay, so I'm going to give you some ideas because I want you to know what. So my pepperoni Pete, where does he live? What time period is he in? Because a lot of the story I develop is based on those questions, right? So here, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make one big T chart here. So here's a place. This is like the T chart lesson, isn't it? And here is a time period. So I'm about to write a whole bunch of things here. You do not have to write a whole bunch of things. You can pick one, maybe two. So but I do want you to let me know what is the place and what is the time period. Okay. So for example, a place could be a city, and it could be a fake city or a real city, or maybe a small town, and maybe it could be a restaurant. It could be a planet. These are ideas. It could be a library. It could be like heaven. It could be like something you can't physically touch. So for example, um you could have like a place where maybe the sky, like clouds, the could be on the moon, right? It could be like It could be just a general place like the West or the Wild West, right? It could be something like the coast, the coast. It could be the prairie, a prairie. The prairie are grassy flatlands, grassy flatlands. The coast is like the ocean where the ocean and the sand meet, or the ocean and the rocks meet. It could be on some dunes, some sandy hills. It could be in Disneyland. It could be in something like a fake Disneyland that you make up called Fantasy World. Okay. It could be, your setting could be anything. It could be some place you made up called Fun Island. I'm a fan of Hallmark movies, and there's always some made up country. Oh, meet the Princess of Moldova. Is Moldova a place? I don't think so. Meet the Countess of Astrigaland or whatever. It could be a fake planet. Think of movies like Star Wars that have all these moons and planets. It could be a real planet. It could be like Saturn. It could be anything, the place, okay? Think of a time period. So a time period could be the present, meaning now, current culture, the current time we're in. It could be pre-colonial. So you could be on like the coast before Columbus or before colonizers got here. So it's unexplored land. I'm thinking of like Pirates of the Caribbean, right? The pre-colonial time. I don't know. Just I'm thinking of some of the islands from those movies, right? It could be like the Wild West. So that would be when people were going west in the wagons, especially around the 1800s, okay, or the throughout the 1800s. Really, it could be the future. It could be the year 3000. Your story could be about the in the country of Moldova in the year 3000. It could go back maybe not too long ago, like the 80s, 40, 50 years ago, 1980s. So maybe your character has, I think of the regular show where there's 80s music and there's 80s pop culture, meaning popular culture. Maybe they have style like the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s, right? You could even have your setting jump dimensions like in The Flash or in a different type of superhero movies like that where there's the multiverse, right? You could get it, you could make it as complicated or as easy as you want it to be. It could be 5 years from now. It could be 50 years from now. So these are ideas. Okay. So from now. So I want you to remember, you're not writing all of this. You should have a place and a time period. I want you to have a place and a time period. I'm going to pick one for my guy, Pepperoni Pete, but I want you to pick a place and a time period for your character. Write it down. Go ahead. Okay. So, good. So I'm for my character. Let me see. I'm going to pick my character. I think I'm going to have my character Pepperoni Pete be in a small town. And I think I'm going to give it a name. I think I'm going to call it Pizza Town. So if you can give yours a name, please go ahead and do that. It's going to be called Pizza Town. How original, I know, right? And then I'm also going to give the time period. I think I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I think I'm just going to do the present day. So go ahead and share what you have. Excellent, excellent. I love it. I love it. All right. So then within where and when your setting is, it's also good to know what type of actual home, where do they live in? Where do they lay your head? And that could change depending on what type of species your character is. So do they live in a pod if there's some type of robotic thing, right? Do they live in a tree if they're like a monkey or a bird? Do they live in wherever they live? So let me give you some ideas. You do not have to write this. You're going to write home, and then I'm going to give you options, and you're going to pick one or create your own. So do they live in a house? Do they live in a tree? Do they live outside or inside? Right? Because even people could live outside too. Do they live in some sort of a trailer? Do they live in a tent? Do they live in a business? Like the movie Cars, right? Do they live in a garage, right? Do they live in a high-rise building like in New York City or a Tokyo? Do they live in a high-rise building? Do they live in a hut? Do they live in an igloo? Do they live anywhere? So go ahead and pick what your home is within your location. So if you're in heaven, does each person have a cloud, right? If you're on the coast, is it like under a coconut tree? I don't know, something. So go ahead and pick. All right. So my character, Pizza Pete, no, Pepperoni Pete. He's going to live in a trailer behind his business. Okay, behind the business. Okay. And that's the last thing. There's a lot of things that contribute to who we are. And a lot of times that is a job. I do want you to copy this: volunteer, hobby, student. I would like you to write those 4 things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and do that. Okay. So, what does your character do? What do they do? A hobby is like something that they might do for fun on the side. Do they bowl? Do they build things? Do they like to sing? Is there a hobby? They don't have to have a hobby, but there should be something here. So Pepperoni Pete, definitely he works. My character has a job. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna highlight that. He's not a student. He has a job at a restaurant. He works making pizzas. Making pizzas. And I think I do want him to have a hobby. What do I want his hobby to be? I think I want him to play tennis. And you don't have to use this in your story, but it gives you an opening, right? So go ahead and decide, what do you want your character to be known for or do? Do they volunteer somewhere? What do they do? Go ahead and fill that out for your character. Perfect, perfect. The last part that we're going to do is we have to talk about other people, because most of our stories include other people, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write options, because we're not going to write this huge story. We're going to just write a character profile. But there are oftentimes other people that surround the main character, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean friends, because sometimes you have these frenemies or these nemesis that come across, that just maybe there's another pizza place across the street from Pete's, Pepperoni Pete's pizza place, and they're always competing. So no, they don't necessarily have to be your friends, right? So these are types of other, I'm going to write here, other supporting, and I'm going to put supporting because this is not the main character. The main character for me is Pepperoni Pete. You have a main character. These are other supporting characters. Go ahead and write other supporting characters on your paper and put a colon, the 2 dots, because it's going to be a list. Excellent. I'm going to give you ideas of other characters. You do not have to write this. I want you to pick maybe two or three at the end. Okay, so you could have friends, like old friends from growing up. You could have neighbors. You could have maybe one best friend or one best group of friends. So maybe it's like the same three friends all the time. Your character could have a pet, right? Or there could also be familiar strangers, especially in kids' books and shows. You have familiar strangers. In your world, you probably have familiar strangers. So for me, that would be every Sunday I go to a coffee shop and the girls there know me. We make small talk. I couldn't tell you all their names because I tend to forget, but they know me. I ask how they're doing. I know them. And they are familiar strangers, right? So even though we're not friends per se, I see them all the time. So this might maybe your mailman or maybe your mailwoman or maybe people, maybe the checkout person at Costco, or you just see them all the time. So you might not be friends with them, but they are familiar strangers, right? You've seen them, you've dealt with them, you know them. Maybe every time you enter a certain building, there's someone at the front desk, or right, that would be a familiar stranger. A nemesis, like an enemy, right? So, or maybe there's going to be a nemesis team. It could be a person or team. So, so maybe my pepperoni Pete is always fighting with the pizza parlor across the street. So it's pepperoni pizza versus I don't know, versus let me see, Little Caesars crew, and they're always battling it out for their customers, right? So that could be it. It could be a nemesis pet. So maybe there's a neighbor with a dog that's always ruff, 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 barking at you, right? That are barking at your character, right? It could be family. Maybe the person lives, I think my pepperoni Pete is going to live with friends, not family, but family is definitely supporting characters. It could be a brother, sister, parent, aunt, uncle, cousin, nephew, whatever, right? Are they more of a loner? They like to be alone, right? There's a romantic partner. So it could be like a marriage, a wife or husband, or it could be maybe that pepperoni Pete has a crush on the frozen yogurt girl next door or something, and so he always says hello to her. So there could be different type of supporting characters. So I want you to go ahead and pick maybe two or three and get specific. Who are they? What are their names? Or what species are there? And go ahead and do that. All right. Good job. Now, can you go ahead and raise your hand and share with your group some of the other supporting characters you have? All right. Okay, so for me, the supporting characters actually are not on my list. I'm going to make them coworkers. They all work at his pizza place. And I think there's going to be, and they're going to be all good friends. I think there's going to be three of them. I think they're all going to be pizzas for mine. I think one is going to be um there's going to be Veronica the vegetable pizza or the vegetarian pizza. I think there's going to be Carlos because I have pepperoni Pete, right? Mine, I'm going to have Carlos the combination. Who doesn't like combination pizza? And I think the last one is going to be um how about if I put Carol spelled with a K, the keto friendly pizza, so thin crust. So these are going to be my characters, besties, coworker besties, right? They're Veronica, Carlos, and Carol. So that's going to be my other characters. Okay, these are going to be my other characters, and they are going to have a nemesis as well. They're going to have a pizza place. I'm not going to say across the street. That kind of reminds me of Bob's Burgers. I'm going to say the nemesis is going to be, let's not even make it pizza. I changed my mind. Let's, pizza, P is going to be pizza. But why don't we do the natural enemy of pizza is burgers? So the nemesis is going to be Barbara the burger. And they're always going to be fighting over what's better, pizza or burgers. So this is for me. Okay. So good job today, you guys. We have everything. We don't throw this away. We have everything we need to get ready to write our official character profile next time we are together. You did a great job. See you next time. Bye.